So Tulsi Gabbard spoke to Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi on their new podcast for Rolling Stone. And she was maybe more outspoken here than ever on the issue of the Iraq War.
You had really two experiences that were very striking. The exposure to the high number of American casualties, but also there was the mission itself, which didn't seem to really fit with the aloha culture and what you had grown up with.
Well, I think what we found, I mean, like so many people, we were there to serve our country and believing the lie that we were all told that, hey, we've got to go to Iraq and topple Saddam Hussein, this brutal dictator, because he's working with Al-Qaeda and they've got weapons of mass destruction and they're going to use them to attack us. I mean, that's the mission and the mindset that we went there believing. Like so many politicians in Washington, so many people in the country, only to really realize that we were lied to and that we were betrayed. This really wasn't about going after Al-Qaeda. This wasn't about fulfilling that mission of protecting the American people at all. It was a regime change war that was launched under the guise of national security, under the guise of humanitarianism, and look at all these atrocities that this brutal dictator has done to his own people, and done really for the benefit of corporate interests and oil. And that was something, even while we were there, was very eye-opening to me, coming from state government. You know, I'd left my re-election campaign and my seat in the state house, and going there and thinking about fiscal responsibility to taxpayers, and seeing plastered all over our camp this big emblem of KBR Halliburton.
Oh God,
You saw it, I'm sure.
Yeah, every outhouse was, exactly.
Everywhere. And then, you know, we're from Hawaii. We have like very diverse, you know, we have people from across the Pacific, Filipino, Chinese, Vietnamese, all kinds of people in our unit. And we started making friends with the what were called the third country nationals that were hired by KBR Halliburton to come and do things like clean the outhouses or cook the meals in the chow hall. And so we'd start to make friends with them and talk with them and, you know, go outside behind the tent, start cooking rice and sharing food, and just started asking, hey, how much are you guys making? You know, how are you being treated?
Oh, it was outrageous, right?
It was outrageous to see. I mean, hearing, I get paid $500 a month.
Wow.
A month to work 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week. How often you get home to see your family? Maybe once a year, but probably every other year. And just knowing the billions of dollars these companies are making, and really to have this indentured servitude. It went to, well, this is the military industrial complex, that they're really the ones who are profiting.
Damn. So she's flat out saying it. The Iraq War was for oil. It was for corporate interests. And the people who benefited, it was the military industrial complex. It was for the profits of the military industrial complex. And that was a hard-hitting story, man. You know what it reminded me of? I don't know how many of you guys have seen it. I think it was called Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers. I highly, highly, highly recommend you take a look at that movie. It's like a documentary. I think it's called Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers. And it is absolutely eye-opening as to just how severe and deep the corruption went, and how there were a small number of people at the top getting incredibly wealthy off of the wars, and everybody else was suffering. It was, you know, the old Smedley Butler idea, war is a racket. You've never seen it laid out in more clear terms than you saw with Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers. I mean, I honestly forget the specifics, so don't quote me on this, but like a six-pack of Coke, the taxpayers were being billed some ridiculous amount of money for it, like $30 or $60 or something like that. So it, like, the whole point was to rob taxpayers blind, loot the treasury, and people were getting rich off of it. And what Tulsi laid out there is, as the people who were hired to work for KBR and Halliburton, these private contractors in Iraq, getting paid like $500 a month for working 6 days a week, 12-hour days, it's like she had a light bulb moment of like, whoa, why are we really here? We were told that Saddam Hussein worked with Osama bin Laden to do 9/11. Turns out that was total nonsense. Then we were told Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, and the implication was he's going to use them on us. Not only was it not true that he wasn't going to use them on us, it's also not true that he had them. He didn't have them. And throughout the entire time Saddam was doing his atrocities, we were supporting him massively. His atrocities against the Kurds, I mean, we were backing him at that point. So it's almost like she had this light bulb moment, and imagine having that light bulb moment when you're serving in the war. Oh. See, I had that light bulb moment from my couch. So it was potentially easier for me to digest because I wasn't there. She was there, and she was having this light bulb moment of like, oh my God. This is like for the profits of the military-industrial complex, and this is deeply corrupt, and this is a war that, at least in part, is about the oil. Man. That's tough. I'm telling you guys, Iraq for Sale, The War Profiteers. If you go into that movie being like, like a waffly centrist or something, you'll come out a leftist. Because there's no way to explain away the deep, disturbing corruption at the heart of the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War. There's no way to explain away those no-bid contracts, billions and billions of dollars, and then, shoddy wiring where some of our troops got electrocuted in the shower and died because KBR and Halliburton, the people who were working for them, weren't qualified to do it, but they wanted to hire people for cheap because they wanted to pad the bottom line and make more money. The list goes on and on of the devastating and damaging and incredibly scary things, man. So there you have it. It's very nice to now have politicians who are willing to say it, who are willing to say the military-industrial complex and are willing to say the Iraq war is for oil. Because for the longest time, even, like Obama, he would say it was a mistake. The war was a mistake. There's a very big difference between a mistake and a war based on false pretenses for oil and for the profits of the military-industrial complex. Those are two very different things. And one of them was like the tepid disagreement with the war, where it's like, a strategic error, a tactical mistake, versus like, no, war's a racket, and this is for profits for the military-industrial complex and oil. So, big difference between those two. And now the Overton window is shifting on foreign policy, and it's a great thing to see.